This very well could be your old tube radio network.
You may not find us on your TV because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by
OTR.
Brought to you by
27.085 megahertz.
Brought to you by RADI.
The Old Tube Radio Network.
Yeah, RADIO, the old tube radio network. 27085 is our frequency of choice. That's channel 11, or maybe it's ABCDE on your old tube radio multi-channel selector. Hello to those listening in on oldtuberadio.net, and also the video YouTube that looks a little bit orangey. I seem to be... I'm not running for any type of political office, but I seem to be a little bit orangey here, so we'll hopefully fix that. It's, as usual, there is something that goes wrong. It's usually in the video. Don't add pictures to radio, and you will be just fine. My name is Dennis, the Old Tube Radio Network. We have been on the air about 35 years or so, and our purpose is to transmit information and talk with and talk about those classic vintage tube radios in the 11-meter citizen band radio service that showed up somewhere around 1958 or 1959 when indeed the FCC created the Class D citizen radio service, and those tube radios were sold all the way through probably up to about 1978. And so those are the radios when we get to the tube radio part of the net that you will hear checking in tonight. In the meantime, I'll work out my technical glitches as we go along, but I want to get started with the directed net roll call of our shortwave listeners, those who may or may not have radios but would like to make their presence known and say hello to us here on the network. I encourage you to stop by and say hello if you were able to leave a comment on one of the various pages if you're watching from afar, and we'll try and answer your questions as we go along. Starting off, as we always do, with our current 00, and I think that's Wayne.
00, checking in.
And you are sounding loud and clear, as always. Let me get you started off here with a check-in and say thanks, and I'll give you a call in just a moment.
Thank you.
We have the cosmic check-in for SWL number 1. SWL 2. One of the dudes that took his old tube radio, and I'm not sure if it was the Buddy Bass or the 23S9 about 36 years ago, and dialed it down to this frequency and said, let's come down to this channel and talk on our tube radios. That would be Mr. OBP, who I believe is out waving a hand to all if you check into the video link that's somewhere, YouTube video link somewhere on your screen. Thank you, Kevin. And what is our sunspot report? I think I'm also echoing. Let me see if I can fix that. 1, 2, 2. All right, that helps. Are we still at 0? The conditions have still been poor. I know people have reported that there have been openings, but haven't been all that great. So thanks, Kevin, for being out there. We'll get you checked in. Over to SWL3. I was asked to check in, Mr. Lone Eagle from the Bowling Alley Endeavors, and I will do that. SWL4. SWL5. Shortwave listener 6. SWL7. SWL, where are we going? SWL13. And Mike often checks in at oldtuberadio.net, which you can do. If you need to check in that way, that's a good way to do it. And I eventually will see that. What I'd like to do, what do we want? I want the video that has the S meter on the bottom like that, so you can give yourself a radio signal report if you're watching back at some point, or maybe you're watching live. It's still kind of orangey. We'll figure that out. Next is SWL 14. SWL 15. SWL 16. SWL 17. SWL 18. SWL 19. SWL 20. I have a note to check in Harvey, who is away from the microphonium but may be listening in on some Universal Media Net web device. I should say, let's say hello to those who are listening. The Google bots from Mountain View are listening in multiple areas. They love the Old Tube Radio Network. Hello to Sacramento, up there, way up there in the balcony tonight. From Washington, stations near or in Spokane and Meade. Hello to Southern California in Manhattan Beach. Down the road, hello to Huntington Beach. Florence, Kentucky. North Fork, Hendersonville, Tennessee, coming up to you guys. Dallas, Georgia, coming up to you. Hello to Centerville, Virginia, coming up to you. Our faithful station out there in Woodland Park, Colorado. Hello to San Francisco. Maybe waiting for the backscatter E-skip to happen. We pick you up on Channel 11. Somerville, South Carolina, back from the engagement from Old Radio Night, I believe. Who else? Right in the front row, as always. Hello to our New York station, and we will be chatting with all of you coming up. The radio's coming up as well. Roll call. Speaking of Old Radio Night, let me get Mr. JT SWL 21 checked in tonight and see how the ground rod is doing. A great Thanksgiving weekend to all. Thanks. It's been pretty good. I think I had not one but two of the turkey pot pies provided by Bozo Control over the can of Sterno. So things are good here. Got you checked in, JT, and I enjoyed the Mark IV, which we do occasionally get those checking in here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for listening. SWL 22, SWL 23, SWL 24. I have a note to check in. Joe, Mr. Black Sheep. All right, Joseph, we got you checked in for 24, SWL 25.
Greetings, Dennis. 25, check it in.
Wow, sounding super loud in my headphoniums tonight. Jerry, thanks for listening in to the Old Tube Radio Network.
All right, thanks, Dennis.
Next, boy, something is talking to me back there. SWL, where are we going? Page 2. If anybody has the crossband fired up, I am not listening in, unfortunately, but we'll do our best. SWL 27.
27's checking in on AM.
Sounding good on AM. No crossband necessary. Thanks for checking me in Wednesday night. Dwayne is one of the many net controllers on the Central Valley Wednesday evening 10-meter net. So if any of you SWLs out there are able to tune in to listen to, and or if you have the proper amateur radio ticket to transmit on 10 meters, give us a listen at, 28? Am I doing this right? 28.445 upper sideband?
Roger, 28.455.
And that is Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at 28.445. And there is a section for visiting stations to be recognized. Thank you, Dwayne. Got a proxy check in for SWL 29. And then we head over to, let me turn the volume down there. SWL 31, that's Robert and Teresa there in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and they are listening, as they often do, as they always do. One of our first digital listeners when we started streaming the net here. They have a very nice collection, some of which is pictures on the Old Tube Radio Network Facebook page. I think it's still up and running, but you will find some of the cool radios they have over on the photos there. Let's try SWL 32. SWL 33, myself, and Bozo Control, who I do not see, and the Jingle Singers, who are there somewhere. You've got kind of a skeleton crew here tonight, since it is a holiday weekend, and a lot of our group is out and about doing something, so we'll hopefully have a quorum to get a few jingles here tonight. Let's try SWL 35. That is Mr. Bill up in snowy Cheyenne. And I'm looking through the items here to see if he is online yet. Doesn't look like it. We'll keep an eye and an ear out for Mr. Bill. Over to SWL 36. SWL 37. SWL 39. SWL 40.
SWL 40 checking in from Chinatown at 45 degrees.
37 from the north end of town.
All right, from the south end of town and the north end of town, we'll get Larry, who is checking in. Also, SWL 37, Chris, who is checking in as well. We've got you both over.
And under.
Thank you.
That will take us to 37s and 40s and SWL 42.
That's Proxy and 42 in the gang.
42 in the gang, got it. First of the trio. Get to Jerry in there, looking good. Next we have SWL 43. SWL 44. Hey, I hear a voice. I heard the voice of 44 beaconing in from one of the many secret locations. If you can hear this peanut whistle, Ray, you are checked in, over. And that's with the preamp off. That's with the minus 20 dB preamp in there, doing a good job. Thanks, Ray. Let's head over up to Paul, SWL 45.
Good tonight, Dennis. 45.
Trying my best to get it all together here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. But always enjoy the radios, and those will be coming up after the roll call. Thank you for checking in. Paul is in SWL 46. SWL 47.
Well, greetings from the Radio Lounge, SWL 47, where we're mighty grateful that these radios are nice and warm.
Nice and warm is a good thing. What is the recommended? 2 minutes, 5 minutes? You may have a radio that drifts. It may need, I think Kevin, SWL2 kept his, the Siltronics on constantly all the time, and it didn't drift very much when doing that. So know your drift coefficient. Thanks for checking in. SWL 48. SWL 49. I know a lot of stations may be out doing the Thanksgiving holiday thing, so late check-ins are always acceptable. Or scribble in somewhere on the net, and we'll get you checked in on the Facebook side. Let's try SWL 50. SWL 51. Not sure if Fresno State's playing tonight or not. I wouldn't think so. SWL 52. But what do I know? SWL 53. I think I heard Mr. Belair earlier on saying that he needed to check in, so indeed he will get a check-in.
Thank you much on that, Dennis. Let's check in 53. And Fresno State is not, they're pretty well done.
Okay, they're Done and done. Better luck next time, maybe. Anyway, we'll see. Thanks for that. I'm trying to do my paperwork as I go along here. I do need one sheet to check in the radios and the SWLs, which is what we are doing now. The Old Tube Radio Network is what you are listening to after the roll call here of our listeners. We will be taking check-ins and talking about the classic tube radios. Many of you out there may have some of these radios that check in tonight, and I wish we could hear all of you, because I know you have some great collections that I can't hear, obviously because of conditions. But perusing the various Facebook pages, there are some very interesting sets out there, some of which we have never checked in our 35 years. It would be cool to get some of those. We're going to page 3. Before I do that, let me go over to the comment sections such that they are, and say hello to Albert and the gang up there in Squamish. Albert, Peter, and Christian, triple play, checking into the Old Tube Radio Network. And the Bob and Steve show that runs concurrently with the Old Tube Radio Network. I think it's on our digital flip channel, beaconing out on their various giant towers. And tonight, they have the Thanksgiving spread leftover set up in the green room. Well, so good. I'm heading over there after the net, because all I got was the turkey pot pie the other night. And I'm hoping that we were supposed to have, the spread we were supposed to have, is now sitting over in the green room for our stations that are checking in. Jingle Singers are helping. They should be here momentarily, and we did get the show open. And said they're going to save me some pumpkin pie. Bought it on we bought on a Black Friday a TV 75-inch for the green room. Okay, I was wondering what the glow was over there. I was hoping that they didn't have the fireplace going, because there is no fireplace in Studio B. And as Soupy Sales, I hope it wasn't one of those Black Friday specials. Remember Soupy Sales? He always says, never buy a television from a man on the corner who is out of breath. So hopefully, Bob and Steve, you did not get that type of deal. Thanks for setting things up. And he's saying there's a Fresno State game. Is this from last week? 7 minutes. 14-3 on national ESPN2. All right, we will look for updates on the game that may or may not be happening. SWL 54, the Cosmic Check-In, goes to one of our favorites here, Larry, who kept and was good at keeping a lot of our local radios on the air, and a lot of them are still out there transmitting. Let's try SWL 55.
55, checking in.
All right, Eminem, I checked the weather report the other day, and I think I heard things like 17, 18 degrees. Am I dreaming?
16.
16. Do I hear 15 going once? Eminem is up in the higher altitudes, probably in the range of about 5,000 feet. Our snow level is down. The temperatures have dropped here in Midtown on the valley floor, but if you're up in the high altitudes, you definitely need some gloves and an extra Old Tube radio to keep things warm. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis, and don't forget your tire chains.
Yeah, your tire chains for sure. Or maybe the snow shovel, and just probably futile to shovel off the porch. Let's go down here to Midtown, or near Midtown, where it is always, the weather is always good. SWL 56.
Good evening, Dennis and the net. 56, just for kicks.
Just for kicks and grins, we've got you checked in. Thank you. Listening to my noise level with the preamp turned off. Oh, you know what? I have been amiss in not having the S meter up there. There we go. So my apologies to those who are wanting to give themselves radio checks, and there was no S meter displayed. We need to get a net controller that knows how this thing runs. You'd think after 35 years there would be some notes on how to do this properly. Digital SWL Brown Dog Audio in central Kentucky. Is that, do we have a Kentucky station? Oregon just checked in. Looks like the UK may be out there. that our station from Florence? I'll have to check. You know what? I haven't been looking at the video stream as well. I'll see who else is out there in just a minute here. SWL 58.
Yeah, Proxy EMN. He's probably got too much snow on his antenna up there, Bass Lake.
Yeah, snow is down at Bass Lake, and just driving up on the freeway today, I could see the snow level. There's the dusting all over the place. So good thing. We need the snow, and we definitely needed the rain for sure. Thanks, and we'll get Jeremy checked in. SWL 59. Shortwave listener 60.
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, let's check in this old big base here. Belong to old Jake the Snake. Sometimes they call him Jake the Snake. DX2527.
Joe, Mr. Hustler, and Jake the Snake, as often heard on his, back in the day, on the L2 Radio Network, on the 2901 DX2527 radio. Sounds good, and we've got you checked in.
Thank you much, and you're right about that game. It is 14-3. But I meant overall, they're pretty much done. Okay, let it rock.
Okay, they're fulfilling, I think of what it's called is contractual obligation. They're fulfilling their contractual obligations to play football and make money for somebody and prepare maybe for the better season next time. Thanks, Joe. Over to SWL 61.
61, checking in, man.
Sounding good, sir. SWL 61. Got you, Dean.
Thank you, sir.
From beautiful downtown Clovis, SWL 62.
Good time, Dennis. This is 62. On frequency and on time.
On frequency, which is 27085, the time 8:26 Pacific Daylight Time. And Rex, you are checked in. Thanks.
A little late. 51 checking in.
And 51, let me just rewind. We'll rewind the tape here. SWL 51 near Sangertown. Dave is checking in. We've got you checked in and sounding good, as always. Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis. Have a good evening.
That is some big-time audio there. What's happening? Oh, I wanted to go over to the video site, say hello to, let's start from the most current. Did I mail my sport jacket to Motormouth Mall? You know, it's up in the closet. I think in future episodes, I found when I was putting the jacket away, I don't know if John would want to look that classy. He's got good audio, but I found my leisure suit, and I kid you not. So maybe that will make an appearance coming up. Leisure suit from 40 years ago, maybe even more than that. And what's worse than that is it fits perfectly. It still fits perfectly. And what's even worse than that is it's still in one of the closets. So we'll do the sports jacket. The mighty KUH, Brian, listening in from his cool Radio Shack that goes from the 21st century back to the 20th century with tube radios. Hello to Butterbean. DD21 is out there watching and listening, and a host of others. Oh, Wayne, the Sheriff of Nottingham is also, and I thought I saw the UK up on one of the boards here, where I believe it is coming up at 5 a.m. Is that right? Sun may just be coming up, but the old Tube Radio Network is glowing and keeping things happening out there. So thank you all, and just clocking in there from Iowa, KJG 4755 from KEO 8492 and mighty Juliet Whiskey. Hello, John. Thanks for listening in here at the old Tube Radio Network. We're in the direct-to-net roll call, and if I would stop talking, we'll get to the Tube Radios. Let's continue on with SWL 63. And Bubba and all our stations out there in New York represented here with this check-in. Over to SWL 64. SWL 65.
65, checking in.
Nice loud signal here in Midtown Fresno tonight. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
SWL 66. Shortwave listener 67. I've got a note to proxy in Bill. You might be listening, but I got you checked in. SWL 68. Checking to see if Texas is in. I don't see. SWL 69.
Yeah, that's proxy in 69.
SWL 69, that is Kilowatt Echo November, as we say on amateur radio. Ken, who sometimes peeks and tweaks his Radio Shack to get us tuned in from his location. If you're listening or watching, Ken, hello to you, and we miss you out here, so thanks for tuning in. Over to SWL 70.
Oh, Dennis, 70.
Hey, you know, don't go away. Don't go away. Is that the radio?
Maybe.
I'm just listening to the audio. It was kind of loud. It was kind of good. I think that might be it.
Thanks for checking me in, Dennis.
Okay. You've got it dialed just to the brink. You've got it dialed just to the brink. You wouldn't go any more, but it's actually pretty loud. It looks good on the meter. And fun stuff. We won't say anything else. Thanks, Mark.
I think it's how close I am to the mic too. If I back up here a little bit, and then get up here a little bit, and it's maybe a little too close right up in here.
Yeah, you pegged it. That's exactly it. You lose the sideband, the double sidebands coming in when you back off a little bit. It's amazingly good and clear, and I think you are just running a stock microphonium, which typically won't work as nicely as all sorts of audio garbage, but it's actually good. It's you will be pleased and proud, and if you watch the video or listen to the audio, you might even be louder than me.
I doubt that, but hey, thanks. I'll take a listen to the audio. Thanks, Dennis.
All right, and you know, as they say, don't cut the green wire. All right. Remember that. 70 is in, talking about his YAM radio, one of those radios that gets maligned when it tries to go AM. And Mark, being the technical guy that he is, has got that thing dialed down and figured out. It really sounds 110% better than when we first chatted on the thing a few weeks ago. It's a keeper, and that's with stock audio. Excellent. Over to SWL 71. That is Stan out there in Foreland, Dallas, Georgia. Stan, where is Mr. Announcer? There he is. The icon of Mr. Announcer. That looks exactly like our Mr. Announcer on the old RCA 44 microphonium. Thanks for listening in tonight. Over to SWL 72. SWL 73. SWL 74.
Yeah, Dennis, you could proxy 74. That'd be great. Thank you.
Can do. Miss Julie of the 49,999 watts fame. She always goes easy on me and backs the radio off on that one final watt so that I don't have to throw the headphoniums on the floor. Miss Julie is checked in. Thanks, Jerry. Over to SWL 75. Shortwave listener 77.
Yes, sir. 77 on the Tower of Power out of the Tower District. Waving a hand to all the listeners, and thanks for everything you do, Dennis. And 73, 77, checking in.
All right, I'm glad I can be around to do it. And I'm glad there's people who will hang out with us on Saturday evenings to bring these radios, classic radios, on the air the way they were long, long ago. Back, like we talked about, when we had that 5-minute rule. I may be taking my 5 minutes here, but we will be giving the frequency back to the tube radios in just a moment. Thanks, Dennis. Over to SWL 78. 78 is in Everett, Washington. Richard's there. There were a couple of Washington stations in earlier that I don't think it was Rich, but I will keep an eye and an ear out for 78. Over to SWL 79. SWL 80. Page 4, the Patient People, SWL 81. I don't see Steve Areno. Sometimes he hits upon the video page. So keep an eye out there. SWL, over to the ditch banks again. There is no dust in the ditch banks. There may be snow. I don't know. SWL 82.
82, checking in from the dry ditches of Iowa. They are dry now.
Yeah, it all soaked in. It hasn't rained in a while, but you can go out there and rake the leaves and not choke. Sounding good, Ron. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Then we go to, and I will call SWL 84. And I'm going to put a proxy in for SWL 84. Jerry might be listening in. Let him know that the on the air light, Jerry and the radio gang over there got together and got the old Tube Radio Network, the on the air light, and it's still working. It's looking good. Over to SWL 85. Yeah, from Reedleytown or somewhere near. John at the microphone. We've got you checked in. Over. Then we'll do the triple play, SWL 86, SWL 87, and SWL 88. The Mountain Maid, the Tandy Girl, and the Snowy Owl. I was reading about snowy owls. I'd never seen a picture of one. They're very beautiful, and apparently in some states the flock, the herd, the gaggle of snowy owls is increasing. Apparently they were somewhat endangered, but looks like we're having a good year for the snowy owls, so that's a good thing. Over to SWL 89. SWL 90. I'm getting 90 approx in for Like a Boss. SWL 92. I was listening. I thought I heard something, but I didn't hear him. If anybody heard Chuck and Madera, let me know. I know I hear him on Wednesdays checking in. I hear him fairly decently. SWL 93. SWL 98.
Good evening, Dennis.
And good evening, Fresno Dave. 544, sounding good here tonight. Also, hello to our stations, new stations tuning in. Philadelphia, PA. We don't get too many stations listening in from Philadelphia, where it is currently. Let's see if I can get you a weather forecast. 32 degrees at 11:37 p.m. and clear in Philadelphia this evening. Thanks for tuning in the Old Tube Radio Network. And hopefully when the tubes start rolling here in 5-10 minutes or so, you will hear one of your favorite old-time radios. Let's try and see if the microphone or the radio is working. I got Jeff checked in last week, sort of after the fact. He was having some microphonium problems. SWL 103. How about SWL 109? SWL 110? SWL 111. Maybe hear Robert out there. SWL 113. The guy that got us started off as 00 with the 2-for-1 card, SWL 114.
114, checking in.
And got you checked in again, Wayne. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
From the digital listeners' side of things, Fairfax, Virginia is what my chart tells me here, but I think showing up as Centerville. That's okay. Everybody Everybody's represented. What's the weather like near you, in a town near you? According to the map, Centerville or Sully Station. How far are you from Sully Station? 41 degrees and cloudy at 11:39. Thanks, John Lee, for checking in this evening. Let me check something here before I unkey. Sometimes he leaves a note. Yes. Took family to production of Dickens' A Christmas Carol, which is a good thing to do this time of year. At Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. That's the real one. That's the good stuff. Yes, the theater where Lincoln was shot by Booth. The Ford's Theater. Well, Mrs. Lincoln, we did like the production of Dickens. Good stuff. And sounds like a good time was had by most. We don't... Being on the West Coast, let's see, California became a state in 1850. About all we have, our claims to fame is the gold rush. We don't have those 200-year-old buildings like they do out that way. I took a trip to Boston, and that was like an eye-opener. Look at all those bricks. You wanted to build something in the 18th century, you needed some bricks. They have a lot of bricks out there. Thanks, John, for checking in. Let's try SWL 131. SWL 133. Help me out. Did anybody hear Dave? Say again?
Negative on the relay.
Okay, I forgot to put in the preamp. I think he needs the preamp on this thing, but normally I can hear him without it. Let's see, where are we going? SWL 135. A note to check in Mr. Green Arrow, which I will do. Also, on the proxy side, AJ Phantom 137 is checked in. Let's see if Tony is up in Chile, Course Gold, SWL 145.
Yeah, Tony 145 in a Chile Course Gold, you got that right. I still don't have the 101. Yeah, but still waiting patiently. And my microphone for my 100 Delta is got a bad cord in it, so until my new microphone, I got one coming on a slow boat from China, but until my new microphone comes, I'm not going to be checking in on Wednesdays. I don't want to mess up the radio.
All right, I think I heard... Oops, let me get the foot switch here. I think I heard you again on Wednesday, but like you said, it was a quick... Got your call, and then maybe, like you said, the microphonium did something not so good, but it was working. So I don't know. Keep an ear out, keep an eye out on it, because we'd certainly like to hear you on the Wednesday net, and we definitely appreciate you hanging out with us here on Saturday. We got you checked in.
Thank you, Dennis. And everybody enjoy your day tomorrow, 73.
In 73, the old Tube Radio Network radios are coming. The old radios are coming right up over to Kakalaki, SWL 147. Neil and the gang out there. You know, he has a 6 call. So I don't know if you told me, Neil, I can't remember, if you're originally from 6 Land or you stopped off here when you got your license, you kept the 6 call. I always like to see the 6 call up there. Raining in Kakalaki, where it's raining also here in Fresno today. A little light rain. I've been getting some late evening e-skip from the deep south the last 2 nights. So hopefully that will portend to some e-skip going on here. I've been listening for the beacons and have not heard none. We did not hear any e-skip on Wednesday night. And we have so far survived Thanksgiving. The traffic was actually lighter today than I thought. Maybe everybody was tuckered out from too much turkey or whatever they did on Thursday. Dr. Jazz in the Carolinas, thanks for checking in. Let's head up to, where are we going? Course Gold once again for SWL 195. Hello, Jim, over.
195, checking in, Dennis. Going to the road, definitely called up here.
Yeah, I don't have a coarse gold weather thing to do. I noticed the ground wave signals are actually sounding good tonight. I'm wish we could have tried some of the Reedley stations. I think having the ground wet and getting rid of some of that dust has helped things out. We've got you checked in, and like we say, put another log on the fire and another old tube radio in the shack.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's cold up here. Yeah, well, put another log on. Taking it down.
Who would have thunk? It's almost December 1st, and we're actually getting some cold weather and some snow. Let's go to SWL 226. I'll call them late check-ins, but anybody I missed or wants to get in now or say a few words before we head over to the tube radios who are anxiously waiting. Their tubes are ready and warmed up, and we are too. So listening for anyone who would like to check in. Yeah, the break OTR, go ahead. Okay, I knocked the radio off frequency trying to get the preamp in. Is that 92? Who is that out there?
650.
650. All right, it sounded like it was off frequency, but I think it was just in my noise floor. But you were definitely in there. 650. Coming in on the ground wave. Thank you for being patient with my micro milliwattted mismodulated mud receiver here, but you are sounding okay on the old tube radio network. Over. Boy, that sounds like sideband on this receiver. I don't know why that does that. Anybody else wanting to check in before we go to the tube radios? And someone there. Boy, when I take the preamp off, I do have a lot of noise. All right, anybody has a relay on that one, I will listen. Speaking of listening, I'm going to set up for the tube radio check-ins. Give me a minute to figure out what it is I'm supposed to do, and I will do it. We'll be right back on the old tube radio network with your glow-in-the-dark radios. Okay, I don't think I've broken anything. Let me see if the jingle singers are ready to go. Who, at least those that are there, the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Greetings to you, wherever you are. For music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, Old Tube Radio, the Old Tube Radio Network, where we do what we do. I said what we do best is listen for and talk about those vintage tube radios, from Hallicrafters to Hammerlin to Sonar to Tram and everything in between. I have pulled up the radio list here for November 30th, 2019. I'm ready to check in radios OTR listening.
47.
25.
45.
We've got our first triple play of, let's see, 45. Hello, Paul. You'll be Radio 3. And hello, Jerry. You will be Radio 2. Head over into the green room. There is plenty of good style leftovers from which to choose. And we'll be right back up with you. Stepping up into the air chair now, SWL 47, back from his engagements from far off lands. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, well, it actually has been a few days since we've been back, but going to be sitting in the air chair and checking in a Robin 123 or 123 or 123. No matter how you want to say the name, Fun Radio. And it's warm and it smells great.
It sounds like it's warm. I don't detect any drift. I haven't put on the BFO, but I don't think I would need to. And the T123, 123, something like that. Let me add it into the video item here. And it is loud. Everybody's sounding good tonight. And if they don't, it's my fault for not having the right buttons on the radio set up. Radio number 1 from ROBYN. And I've got the wrong radio. Wait a minute. No, I don't, because I believe you have a Magic Eye going on over there.
I do. Yeah, that the Magic Eye tube that you're talking about was definitely the sales point for me on this radio. It's a 6RE13, I believe. It's a vertically mounted Magic Eye tube. You yap into it, and the more you do it, a bar kind of illuminates from the top and the bottom, and they kind of meet in the center the more you get into it. It's great, it's fun, and even after all these years, it still kind of captures my imagination. So it's fun to look at, and it's definitely working now. You know, you made a comment that this radio is relatively loud, or at least maybe more so than some of the other ones in my collection. That's probably, I'm assuming, because I do have a amplified D104 on here. I think when I got this radio, I was using, I don't even know what it was. It wasn't amplified, that's for sure. It might have been a Turner mic. And the Magic Eye tube, it works, but it didn't really do a whole lot. But now that Harvey helped me get this amplified mic on here, it's definitely doing what it should.
It's great. I was just about to mention the audio is really loud tonight. There is no turning up anything. If anything, it's pulling the headphones away and listening. And a big 6RE13 is here off to my, right or left side here. Let me go to brakes only. There it is. Boy, that is, all right, there's a super duper close-up. I think that's too close. I was trying to get a picture. There it is. The 6RE13. That is the tube. We're looking straight at it if you're looking at the video. That makes the two little points on the Robin that come together as he tries to talk. He's doing quite well. What is the microphonium that you added?
Well, it's one I stuck on here. Harvey helped me stick on here quite some time ago, several years ago, an amplified D104.
Perfect combination for that radio, for your voice. Here's the picture, and in that we're showing, I think it is actually a Robin microphone. It's the desk called the MT1. I guess that was their preferred microphone with that, but there is certainly nothing wrong with how you've got the D104 wired in tonight. I would imagine that also brings the two little, what color is that? Blue or green? Let me find the picture here. I'm scrolled down. There it is. It brings those two little illuminations together quite nicely.
Yeah, it does. And again, that's, I guess it's one of the drawing features for this radio. There isn't a whole lot going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 knobs and a switch off to the side, I guess, if you want to do a PA or whatever. But pretty simple radio, but nonetheless fun to use. And I have not taken it on the road in a long time, but I suppose if there is a radio that you want to do that, something simple that you can just throw in the car and take off with, or bolt it to your dash, this would definitely be it. I know we got two other folks in the queue here, so I'll make this short. I always struggle with things to say about these radios. I did, I think it was last week or maybe the week before that, I did find a feature on this radio that even after all these years, I had no idea it had on it. So on my other one, the 123B, 123 Bravo, it's got this instant on feature on it, where you basically, even if the radio's turned off, you've got voltage going through there just to kind of, I guess, heat the tubes or whatever, so that when you turn it on, you don't have to wait forever for everything to warm up and get it up to operating temp. On this thing, if you turn the squelch off, it actually, something clicks, and I think it turns the radio off. I might have to unkey and try it. But when you turn the squelch all the way off, it clicks, and the radio's non-op, but it's still on. You can still hear it humming, and it does. Actually, the lights on the radio do still light up. Hold on. Let me try it here. Yeah, okay. So you turn the squelch all the way counterclockwise, and the receive completely goes off. I guess that's kind of a half instant on feature. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe you can elaborate on that. But you turn that all the way counterclockwise, and the receive is off, but everything else on the radio is still illuminated. So I don't know, maybe you're saving a couple pennies worth of electricity by not having power go to the speaker. I don't know. But it was kind of fun accidentally figuring that out.
Accidents happen, and sometimes they are good. That's the infamous something. If you have an old shortwave receiver that was a common, I'll call it a trick, but it's not really a trick, a common feature, a standby switch, if you will, that would keep the filament voltage, the tubes warm, so that when you flipped out of standby, your receiver, or in this case your transceiver, wouldn't have to drift a little bit as things re-warmed up. So it's a way to keep some voltages going through all the tubes to keep them happy and in place. And that's actually quite an interesting feature to have on a CB transceiver, very probably common on very old shortwave receivers, and a cool thing to have. So no drifting necessary. Kevin says it goes standby, it turns the high voltage off, but it does keep some, the filaments running, something like that. So that's your standby switch. I suppose it would be safe to do that, or be a good way when you come in early to fire that setup, put it on the standby mode, and it will be ready to go, as it is now. Sounding good. Radio number 1, the Robin T123. Looking for a a date on that. I'm going to say it's pre-1972, because I think 72 they came out with the 123B, the Panasonic chassis. Will run 12-volt DC with the proper cable. There are 11 tubes. My thing says 1 tube. I know that's not right. I think it's 11. There it is. Yes, 11 tubes, one of them being the 6RE13, which is sitting in the front of the radio there with the little slot cut out in the front panel so that you may see it do its thing. We'll go back to you for transmission. Thanks to the stations that are standing by. That's Jerry and Paul, but they're having, I can see them through the rack. They're having a good time over in the green room, so I think we're doing okay. So take another transmission. Thanks for getting us started off. The T123 looks good. I hope you didn't get caught in any foul weather coming or going. I know there was some delays and, exit stage left and add 4 hours to your trip, or exit stage right and add 8 hours to the trip. So hopefully everything went well with that. And again, thanks for jumping in and getting us started with the Robin. Over.
Oh, yeah. We made it back about 24 hours before the Grapevine got closed down, so no, we were fine. Actually, I could elaborate a little bit more on that instant on feature, but I know we got others, so I'm not going to take up any more time. Thanks for letting me check it in. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. I want to say before we, let's see, who's next? Jerry, step up into the air chair. We'll get your radio 2. Wanted to say 73 to Smarty out there in New York. Also, waving from the Music City. Warren is in there. Butterbean is watching us on the video tonight. And also, I must check in. Because it is my duty as net control, and something that I would actually like to do, because snowy Cheyenne, Wyoming is out listening tonight. Hello, Mr. Bill. And we did finally, as you probably know, Bill keeps track of us here in Fresno. We finally got some snow in the mountains and the foothills here in Fresno, but not quite probably what you guys have been getting there for sure. So thanks for listening in. Radio number 2, the Old Tube Radio Network. Real radio's glowing in the dark, and let's continue with Jerry out there in Madera Heights. Over.
Yeah, hello, Dennis. By the way, I'm just finishing up my last bite of pumpkin pie, washing it down with a glass of red wine, and thanks for the Jingle Singers hospitality. Anyway, 25 checking in on the General Radio Telephone MC5, which has been a project, been under construction now for a couple of years. But anyway, finally decided to make some changes to see if the audio would be a little bit better. But Dennis, the General Radio Telephone, MC5. Back to you.
Let me get the right picture. There it is, the MC5 from late 1962 and 1963. This is before the Super MC series came out a little bit later, but this was their standard radio that sold for about $200. The audio sounds louder. There still is the, what were we calling, the artifact in the modulation a little bit, but it's clear, and I can hear you 100% through the pumpkin pie and everything else going on. So no problem. It's working well. I wanted to say that the MC5, $199.95. Let's go to the big picture here. We can see it better. And this picture, by the way, is from out of the collection of our next station that we'll be keying up here. Paul, who has an extensive collection of general radio telephones. Some of the stations in the Midwest and the East Coast are not real familiar with these radios because they were produced in California. And I don't know if they just had distributors on the West Coast or how they did the distribution, but they seem to be a little bit more unobtainium and more unfamiliarity as you go east of the Mississippi, but they are certainly prevalent here on the West Coast and especially in California. Back to you for transmission.
Yeah, okay, Dennis. Yeah, there's like one tube I need to replace on it that I don't have yet, but it's on the way. And but it sounded like it's supposed to sound. So, but anyway, by the way, you talked about a leisure suit earlier, the polyester. What, by chance, did that have the Nehru collar on it with the flyaway collars?
I'm trying to remember. It's not the blue. There was the baby blue, and it's the light tan color, and it does have the big wide collar lapel with the stitching. And it is, what is that, polyester, stretchy stuff. I think that's it. I'll have to check. We'll bring it up. Maybe next week we'll bring it in, because I can't remember when I got it. Probably 74, 75, something like that. So it'll be apropos for a lot of the radios that do check in. Of course, I think the one I was wearing last week fits more in the 1962 era of this MC5, which was much like the MC4 from the previous year, but it had a stronger transmitter. And it was the last general telephone that was produced with the tone signal, thanks to the FCC. And then that tone signal got replaced with the bullhorn. So while I'm chatting here, I'm going to go, if you're watching the video, here's a close-up. If you look right in the center of the radio below the S meter, there's a switch called the tone signal. And there was an internal oscillator built in, a Tweety Bird or noisemaker. And I'm thinking the FCC either didn't like the fact that people may have been jamming stations, or maybe when they actually tested that tone, it was, over 100% modulation. I'm not sure why, but it was. I remember hearing them back in the day, and I think it's still working on Jerry's radio. So we'll go over to him to see if we can't get a demonstration on the tone signal over.
Yeah, okay. The demonstration's coming up. Just FYI, and I'm sure you probably already know, but just below that tone signal switch, which is spring-loaded, is a crystal socket down below where you can insert your secret frequency to talk to your secret friends, I guess. I'm not sure what that's for. But anyway, but it's the X factor. If you see the X there, you can plug in a crystal right there and talk to your secret friends. Anyway, okay, here comes the tone signal. Back to you, Dennis.
That sounds like I remember, sort of the tone and the warble, and depending on the tube and the condition of component parts, the warble may oscillate a little faster or a little bit slower. Not sure why the FCC didn't like that. I suppose you could do malicious, nasty things with that. But I know you would never do that, and thanks for letting us giving us the sound of 1962, 1963 with the general radio telephone. Thanks for Radio 2. Top of the hour went by. Next, Radio 3 is Paul. So step up in the air chair. We're going to head over to Studio B for the top of the hour recap here on the Old Tube Radio Network, and we will be right back.
You may not find us on your TV because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by
OTR.
Brought to you by
27.085 megahertz.
Brought to you by RADI.
The Old Tube Radio Network.
RADIO. Hope you are enjoying your old tube radios tonight. We'd like to talk to you if you have one and can reach us here at 27085 Channel 11 in Central California. And we'll do just that as we chat with Paul up in North Fork. Hello, over.
Yeah, hello, Dennis. I want to check in my general radio telephone, MC5 Black Cherry.
Back-to-back MC5s. That's good. I've still got the picture queued up here, and I'm not. It's from your collection. I'm not sure if that's would be the MC5 that you're using or how many that you have. We'll talk about the interesting looking microphonium in a moment, but back to you, and can you hear me okay?
Yeah, okay. You know, your jingles just sound like they're a little bit tired. You might give them a break, Dennis. Maybe they'll come back. That's what I got to say. And Jerry, you sounded good on that radio. I want to do some more stuff here, if you don't mind. Jerry and I were talking about this radio. He's done some work on the thing. It sounds a lot better, Jerry. But I would like, if it'd be possible, to have a frequency check on that thing. 'Cause I've been going up and down my VFO on this thing, back and forth, and you're off, or somebody else is off, or I'm off. Back to you.
I can do that. I just moved in position to do that on your next transmission. Audio is good. It's a cleaner audio. This is more the truer sound, I think, of the MC5 than what we just heard, but it's still nice and loud. Not sure what microphone you're using. And I have a question for you about the receiver. You check in a lot of radios, so I'm curious as to how your tunable MC5 receiver stacks up against some of the other radios that you use. I know you said it might be drifting. So I am on 27085. When you take a transmission, we'll zero beat and find out where your crystal is at. Over.
Okay. Well, I was kind of curious to know, after you get Jerry, that's what I was kind of curious to know about. If I'm on frequency, then somebody else is off frequency. I'd just like to check it out. And I'd like to compare the two tone signals between it and see what you think about them. Anyway, back to you.
Back to me in the studio. You are right on frequency. And the station's listening. I pressed the sideband button, and I did not have to move the VFO at all, or much, to pick you up. 50 cycles at most. So your transmitting is right on. And with that radio, you have the crystal controlled transmit as prescribed by the FCC or ruled by the FCC, and then you have a tunable receive. So I'm not sure how well it's calibrated. If there's an 11, if you're close to 11, there must be some way to spot in where you're at. So maybe the receive is drifting a little bit, but your transmit is right on frequency. Over.
Great. Now, Jerry's is on frequency, then Jerry's got a little problem. So, could you check Jerry's frequency by any chance? I'm asking a lot of things here, but if we have the time.
Yeah, I would have to see our Jerry 25. Are you still on with that radio? He may have switched coaxes, but if you're on, Jerry, with the MC5, take a transmission. Over.
Yeah, okay, Paul, and thank you very much. You're
I've kind of taken a little bit of a long transmission, so Dennis can
find me on frequency. Hopefully this is pretty close. Anyway, back to you guys. Thank you.
Hey, good call, Paul, because Jerry is at 27086.6, so he's a good KC and a half high. And let's see, if I can shift over to about where his frequency is, which is right about there on the transmitter. And you actually did sound a little bit better when I tuned in, Jerry, to the thing. So your crystal is a little high. Well, it's more than a little high, but it is high. So sounds like you got a pretty decent receiver in the MC5, Paul, because you've pegged where he was at.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just happy to see Jerry get just that thing going. We've been playing with it off and on for I don't know how long, a long time. Anyway, Jerry, if you can hear me all right, I got the other crystal over here. That might straighten it right back up again. So you've got the other. I'll get the other crystal to you one way or another. Let's try that. Anyway, but it is sounding better. That you're getting there. Okay. Anyway, I'd like to check my tone signal on this thing too. I'll do it while I'm talking on it. I think it's kind
If the Martians weren't coming, they are now, beaconing out to Mars with that. That is the classic tone signal there, probably the right frequency on the oscillation. Nice and clear and clean. Sure, certainly it's putting out 100% modulation, and interesting that it keeps the audio circuit open, because I could hear your voice coming through as you talked on the microphone. So a proper and decent working MC5 from 1962, right on frequency. I think it's a keeper. Over.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. That will get Jerry on frequency. We'll be cruising 100%. Don't need to take all your time up the thing, but this radio is, you know, the MC5s. You don't have to say anything about them. They were the most advertised radios that General Radio Telephone put out. And I think they were one of the better ones, too. It had all this stuff. Then, of course, the FCC decided that you couldn't use the tone switch on the thing, so we had to eliminate that. That's the last radio that had that in there. Real interesting. General Radio Telephone did a lot of experimenting with the radios, and they were working well on the good radios. They just had a little trouble with the later radios. The FCC didn't like it. They were too good, I guess. Anyway, that's about it. Thanks for checking in, Dennis.
Thanks for bringing it by. Yeah, the FCC probably had a problem with putting some type of an oscillator or tone generator in the radio itself, which is why they wouldn't type accept. So the way, obviously, that people got around that is they started putting the noisemakers or the tone generators into the microphones, which you don't have to have type accepted to put on the radio. I think there were some tone call external boxes that Johnson had, but again, I think they were an external device, and that may be where the change or where the difference is. If you built it into the radio, the FCC didn't like that, but if it was an option that either you could take off or they could tell you to take off, then that was okay. Radio number 3, another General Radio Telephone MC5. General Radio Telephone from beautiful downtown Burbank. I was seeing if we had an advertisement. Yeah, here's a radio ad. Let me see. Let me go to, there it is right there. We're going full screen would be, actually I want this shot right there. From the General Radio Telephone Company, the MC5, and I'll scroll. Free right for schematic and complete technical manual. The world's most advanced 11-meter two-way radio, 3.5 watts minimum output, high-level modulation transformer for unparalleled talk, power, new Zener diode, shunt noise clamp, and series gate limiter circuit for highest noise limiting ever achieved. And General Radio Telephone at Department, it looks like F8 or P8, 3501 Burbank Boulevard. I wonder what's there on Burbank Boulevard today. And there is that device I talked about. It's the General Model 615 multifunction bridge. If you can find one of those, I bet they wouldn't be cheap. The only single precision instrument that measures true power, standing wave ratio, and relative field strength for a price of $40. Pretty cool. Optional accessories are a 6-volt or 12-volt cord, each for $4.95. Crystals are $2.95 and a 90-day warranty. Thanks for bringing it by, Paul.
Yeah, thank you for checking it in, Dennis. We'll get another one lined up here, hopefully. Back to you.
And this is the Old Tube Radio Network. My name is Dennis, the net controller, I guess, by default tonight. We are live at 27085 in Central California. That's channel 11, a frequency chosen because that was the call frequency, or was a call frequency, but basically the call frequency in the early days of Class D service. So a lot of the older radios, which we're talking about tonight, would inevitably have channel 11 somewhere. If it was a one-channel radio, it would have 11. If it was a multi-channel radio, one of those channels would be 11 on the call frequency. And we found that a lot of the radios around here had channel 11, so it was an easy pick to take this channel and do the thing that we do. So thanks to all of you keeping us on air with your great collections. Hello to Wisconsin is listening in tonight. Hello to, let's see, our new stations in another station tuning in from Fresno. And the halftime, Fresno State 16, San Jose 3. And I'm not sure where they're at. I must be at San Jose, but I'm not sure. We are listening for radio number 4.
Break OTR?
And the break OTR, go ahead, over.
Late checking also, number 7.
Okay, number 7 with the not so late check-in because I'm still here, and I will click on the appropriate items of interest, and 7 is done.
Oh, thank you, sir. And I guess I might as well check in this Johnson Messenger 223.
Wow, all right. It sounds, it sounds different than I remember it. Your audio is extreme. So I don't know if you've changed something or you've got a different microphonium. I hear you just fine. I'll put up a shot of the radio on the next go-round, but it definitely sounds like something has changed in the E.F. Johnson.
There we go. Okay, maybe the microphone got turned up or something accidentally. Maybe that's the problem. A little too much modulation?
Yeah, that's what I would say. It's almost into flat topping.
Okay, let's see, test it out. There we go. That should be a little bit better right there.
Yeah, now we're talking. It was fine before. That's with the tube audio, you can, like with tube anything, you can drive it and get that extra headroom. But the radio was starting to revolt a little bit.
I think I remember I replaced the battery and I did not readjust after having the weak battery, so that was the issue.
All right. Well, there is no issue now. Sounding good for radio 4 tonight on the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. I'm going to, if I can slog my way through Facebook, when we're done here and we get a chance, we will talk about E.F. Johnson, because one of our SWLs who frequents a lot of the Facebook pages and is very knowledgeable, Mitch, had some info about E.F. Johnson, and if I can bring it up, which may or may not be possible, we'll talk about the E.F. Johnson company back in Waseca, Minnesota, and their $1 million edition. Take another transmission and make sure you've got everything A-OK on that.
Well, I hope everything's adjusted now. Yeah, I brought it way down. I'm sure that was the issue. Yeah, this is the little super simple radio. This is a D104 Silver Eagle, so it is a powered microphone. And, of course, it does have the blue LED lights and the buffalo nickels inserted into the three knobs. Excuse me.
Not quite like the radio we're showing here, but I guess modifications that you can make. The meter, the front panel is well illuminated with the 23-channel dial, the S meter. Do you have, let's see, I'll get the right one here. Do you have the modulation? It wasn't an option. It was just two different styles. There was a modulation light and a not modulation light.
This is the non-modulation light edition. I have seen the one with the modulation light, and I don't know which one was, why there was two different ones, or why, or different models, or what.
All right, there it is. I switched over to the one without it. Now I've got it there. Let me switch back and see if there was any other differences. I don't think that much. I would think that the modulation light might have been a later version, perhaps. This radio was produced by E.F. Johnson from 1969 to 1972, with the price around $200. Typically, it was a base radio. Their Messenger and the Messenger 2 were base mobile, but this was base. There was no, as far as I know, power cord or switchability to run it mobile. And coming out of the time, I think they had a 323 and a 123. So this was definitely 115-volt AC radio for sure that was sold or could be sold with the desk microphone, as we're showing, that looked a lot like a Turner or a Shure there, and said Johnson right on the front.
There you go. I never did have the Johnson microphone for it, and of course you have to have a microphone hooked into it for it to receive also. So if you don't have that circuit, in there, it doesn't do anything.
Oh, interesting. It is electronic switching. I believe that is a cue that's electronic switching, so you shouldn't have any big clunk when you key the microphonium.
No, there's no big clunk. It's, in fact, that's the reason why the Silver Eagle is on here, because a regular D104, the old one didn't want to hook it. Yeah, it was a pain. This one was easy to wire in.
Excellent. All right. Very good. You are radio. Did I forget somebody? Let's see. There were 3 radios. And then radio, general radio, telephone 5. Okay. I've been having so much fun that I'm forgetting to do my duty, which is manually write these radios down so we can keep it logged. So you were ready at Fort 921, Ed, on the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. And I did find, thank you, Mitch. I don't know if you're listening, but thanks for your, I don't know if you're a newspaper guy or you're just in the right cities at the right spot. There is the newspaper ad, and I'm going to attempt to see if we can actually read a little bit of this. What it is, it's an not an advertisement, but out of E.F. Johnson prepares to enter the CB market in 1959. This article from the Minneapolis Star talks about the beta test of the first 50 Viking messenger units and shows one pulled fresh off the assembly line. So here we go. Let's see. Waseca Electronics firm plans $1 million edition. So if you didn't think CB radio was big in 1959, and actually it wasn't. I mean, call us back in 1974 when the FCC just throws up their hands and says, we can't handle this anymore. But Edgar F. and the gang kind of saw the handwriting on the wall in 1959 and decided it was time to put $1 million addition into their Waseca plant. E.F. Johnson Company, which put this South Central Minnesota company of 6,000 persons on the electronic age map, is having another attack of growing pains. Contracts are being set this month for erection of a 90,000 square foot addition to the 22,000 square foot assembly plant built in 1955 on the southwest edge of town. So they're already employing in 1959 around 6,000 people, made in USA. Construction is expected to start October 15th. Cost will be approximately $1 million. That's $1 million of $1959. Edgar Johnson, 60. We all know Edgar F. His name's on the radio. President of the company he launched from his dad's working shop 36 years ago, said the new facilities will be able to handle twice last year's volume of business and will accommodate 540 employees. The Johnson Company, a family operation, does not reveal sales figures. It is believed, however, that they reached an all-time high and more than $5 million last year. Employment is slightly more than 400. Johnson is the world's largest manufacturer of amateur radio transmitters on the basis of sets in use. And at that time, the Viking Valiant, the Ranger 2, the big boat anchor transmitters, I don't know if they made receivers or not, but they are the classic. If you go down to 75 40-meter YAM, you will hear the classic Johnson boat anchors and also the Johnson Desk Kilowatt for your Add the Exciter radio pleasure. I'm going to scroll through this a little bit. It's a long article. The Johnson catalog lists 1,600 products, but there are many variations. Let's talk about CB radio here. The new construction is timed to accommodate what Johnson people believe may become the company's hottest selling product, the Viking Messenger two-way radio. And yeah, they sold a lot of those. The 6-volt version, the 12-volt version, the 115-volt version. We've had a lot of them check in. They have been the most heard radio many, many weeks in a row. Developed to utilize the Citizens Radio service band from 26,965 to 27,225 megacycles, established a year ago by the Federal Communications Commission. The Messenger is a compact transmitter and receiver easily installed in a car, boat, truck, horse, house, or office. I guess you could install it on your horse. You might not get a very good ground plane with that 102-inch whip. Its selling price of $139.75 per unit puts the product squarely into the consumer market. Citizen Radio Service Edwin T. Herberg, sales manager, pointed out He has opened 23 individual channels for use by the public. The messenger differs from competitive citizen radio equipment in that it gives users automatic access to 5 frequencies in the 23-channel range. Reception is exceptionally clear for distances up to 10 to 12 miles. Well, it's good to see that they're not overrating that. And I'm scrolling along. If you're watching the video, I'm sort of scrolling along trying to read this through the video. There's a shot. I'm going to leave that corner. There's, and that's not Edgar. I think that's his brother, Vice President Marvin Johnson, testing the transmitter on the assembly line. And he's got the ice cream, we call it the ice cream cone microphone. Although the company made finished radio transmitters for the government in wartime, see, that's where you get these large companies with all these employees, thanks to wartime transmitters. Collins was the same way. Collins Radio was the same way. It didn't assemble them for amateurs until the Viking line was introduced around 1950. I think that's what it says. We were the first in the field of factory-built transmitters, Johnson said. It was natural because we were already making most of the parts. Except for the war years, there have been no spectacular ups or downs, and the company's development growth has been solid and steady. And let's conclude with active in community affairs. Johnson served on the school board for 18 years, is a charter member and past president of the Lions Club, and currently heads the Charter Commission. His brother, Marvin. Okay, so that's the picture we're looking at there is his brother, Marvin. So why like Ford, Henry Ford, they made the Edsel. Did E.F. Johnson ever make a Marvin that was just a dog? If anybody can come up with the E.F. Marvin or the Marvin Johnson radio and check it in, maybe it's like... Maybe it's like Ford. All right, Marvin's 62 in this picture. Vice president and purchasing agent, gave up coaching to join the company in 1925. Is that correct? In 1925, Everett, 58, another brother, left teaching in 1941 to become secretary treasurer. Is there an Everett? Does anybody have an E.F. Everett out there? Other members of the management team are names... Factory manager and employee profit-sharing trust fund started in What a great company! They got a profit-sharing trust fund. These are the good old companies that just don't exist anymore. An employee profit-sharing trust fund started in 1953. Is now worth more than $1 million. Well, thanks, Marvin and Edgar F. and all those guys for the. I know this is a long transmission, but. This was a really cool article, thanks to Mitch, and I saved it for when we got an E.F. Johnson radio. So if you're still there, Ed, key up on if you're Edgar or you're Marvin or whatever it is.
Well, it does say E.F., so whichever the E.F. was named for. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Definitely like hearing the history on the radio. Of course, this one was a little bit later in the line, but a super simple radio, and the receive is really nice, so cannot complain. And thanks, Dennis.
All right, thank you. The old tube radio network, Real Radio's glowing in the dark. We'll give the jingle singers a shot here, and then I'm gonna stop talking so we can check in some radios.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Greetings to you, wherever you are. The friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
And we are listening for radio number 5.
25.
And hello, 25, over.
Well, Dennis, I just had to circle back here. I don't know if you watched the movie Blazing Saddles, but there was a whole bunch of Johnsons there. I believe they were in the ice cream, though. I think they had 31 flavors. I don't know what it was, but it sounds like there's a whole bunch of Johnsons running around. Actually, I have 3 or 4 of them here that none of them work, but
it's not to say there's no reflection on E.F. Johnson. It's probably they just need some attention, which takes time to do. So anyway, without further ado, 25 checking in on the Golden Eagle Mark III SSB on the non-powered banana mic with the bass, and red on the air light is glowing, and hopefully it's making its way towards you. Back to you, Dennis.
Yea, verily beaconing here into Midtown Fresno this fine evening, sounding good. A picture, a representative photo for those watching the video or maybe over at oldtuberadio.net of the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB with its separate transmitter and separate receiver. It's interesting that Johnson didn't do that. In the amateur field, they made transmitters only. And then when they went to CB, they made transceivers, obviously for ease of operation and for the type of market you wanted to do that. But it seemed like that would have been a shoo-in for Johnson to just figure out to say, well, let's take one of our big radios and make it smaller and add a receiver to it. But someone beat them to the punch, and that was this company right here from Browning. Sounds quite nice, and it just goes to show that you don't need amplification when you are running the awesome Browning transmitter. Over.
Yeah, Dennis. Anyway, I just want to say thanks to Paul up there on the Hill 45 and yourself for the ongoing construction project on the MC5. One of these days we'll get this thing dialed in, and it'll sound like it's supposed to. So, but anyway, the two-piece radio, like you said, has a spot button, so you can dial it in, transmit to receive, and boy, I mean, like I said, you go to sideband, upper sideband, lower sideband, within the 11-band frequency. I actually thought about, I have the VFO, the Sotronics VFO for this thing that'll go up to 40 meters, not 40 meters, but channel 40. And it does a nice job on sideband, which is channel 1. Plug it in, but I haven't used it in a long time. There's no need to. But anyway, thanks for checking it in, Dennis. Back to you.
My pleasure to check it in. That's what we do here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Listen for talk about those glow-in-the-dark radios, and that is a good one. It will be our Radio 5 this evening, and I think that is our first radio from Browning Labs tonight, and a very good representation. While I've got the transmitter going here, I want to say hello to SWL78 Richard checking in with an outside reading of 34 degrees in Everett, Washington tonight. So 78, thanks for tuning in the Old Tube Radio Network tonight, and we will get you checked in. Also, I wanted to make a comment. What did I want to make a comment on? Nothing. Okay. I'll stand by, and we will listen for radio number 6.
45.
And I think we do have radio 6. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, was there somebody else in there?
Well, I didn't hear them, so let's go ahead and take you while we got you here for radio 6. Over.
Okay. It's my Demco satellite, deluxe, the one I checked in last week. The vehicle stopped on it, so I've been working on it and got it working. This thing stabilized in about, I would say, 10 minutes, which is unbelievable for a vehicle. But it's working well. I'm anxious to hear Jerry's radio and my radio and all the archives that I listen to. Thank you.
All right, it is transmitting. The transmitters, the audio started pretty loud, and then it dropped off a little bit. It almost sounded like a wiring issue or something. So I will pause, go ahead and take another transmission. Keep an eye on any lights or meters and see where we're at. See if it'll stabilize on the audio. Back to you, over.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, it's something else. It's working again. Don't ask me why. It worked. It sounds good now, I'm sure, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's 100% that time, over.
Yeah, well, the back end plugged into the microphone, plugged into the back, and it doesn't have a retainer nut on the thing. You just plug it in, and jiggling around, it might have come loose because it's now stabilized. It's gone back again now. It's, he wants to do what he wants to do, I guess, Dennis.
Yeah, I know. It's again. It'll key up. It keys up loud, and it'll just diminish just a little bit. That time it stayed in pretty much. So let's see. You're going to be listening to this. Go ahead and take another transmission and give it about 20 seconds. I want to see if it's something where it's keying up fine, and then as you talk, it cuts out a little bit more. That could be a tube or something, but. For the most part, I think it's where you want it. So take another transmission of about 20 seconds if you can.
Yeah, okay, I can tell it's working now. It works. It might be something else in the transmitter. I didn't work on the transmitter at all when I was working on just the receiver. So might be getting something weak. No, it's holding in now. Okay. Thanks, Dennis. You fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I fixed it with my hammer. No, that was a perfect 100% transmission that time. And I don't remember if last week we did a frequency check. I think we did. I think it was close. But go ahead and take another transmission, and I'll check frequency here.
Yeah, okay.
Feel like we were pretty close, if I remember right.
No, it's really pulling back a little bit on me right now. So, you have a phone. But it's working. Back to you.
It is working. And yes, that time the audio started to drop off at the end of the transmission. And those listening in when I put on the BFO could hear the radio shift frequency as it started pretty much close, right on at 27085, and then dropped down about 400 cycles low. So when it first keys up, something's warming up in there or changing a bit. Of course, on the wide AM filter, you don't hear that. You don't really notice that. So not really an issue on the AM, over.
Yeah. Well, I like to watch the needle swing though when it works right. Okay. Well, thanks for checking it. I've been listening to it in archive. Could be a tube. Sound like something just breaking down, but now it's working fine. Oh well. It's working on a rainy day, and I think we'll have plenty of time for that. Thanks, Dennis.
I think the title of our net explains it all. Old Tube Radio. And this radio from the mid-early 1960s isn't doing all that bad of a job, I guess, for 1966. If it's a little bit shaky now and again, we can probably forgive it. Sold for $395. That was up in the Browning and the Tram range, but of course it's a transmitter receiver, full complement of everything. What makes that classy, I think, is the speaker, the separate speaker cabinet with the built-in Demco modulator, which probably could have been used with some other radios as well. 23 channels was also a price buster for a lot of people. And instead of buying those $3 crystals, you had them all ready to go. But again, you were paying the big price. If you go to oldtuberadio.com, or anybody, if you want an operator manual, it says that we have one there. I don't know if it's for download or not, but at least you can access it. Thanks, Paul. Radio 6, your Demco satellite to base station, sounding 99 and 44 100% good tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis, for checking it in.
Number 7.
And number 7 is screaming for sure, over, with Radio 7.
Yes, the R68 T68 Browning Golden Eagle, no mark.
No lids, no kids, no space cadets, and in this case, no mark. The R68 T68. I don't have a good photo, but I do have an advertisement, which I will pop up on the screen here. And if SWL20 is listening from his secret location, he will indeed probably... Radio 7 will be his favorite tonight because he's partial to those R68, T68. The first Browning to wear the name, to wear the badge, a Golden Eagle. Back to you for transmission.
Yeah, the little transmitter is just a little bit smaller. Of course, it's not like the Mark III, where you got the equal size receiver and transmitter. So, yeah, it's a nice little radio, and I've got the banana mic attached to it, so no power.
No power, as was proven by Jerry earlier on the Mark III. Browning, I think, pretty much didn't let their radios out the door unless they would function 100% tip-top shape with the way they put them in the box, and that's the microphone and all that, no external modulators or whatever else necessary. The Mark, let's see, this is not the Mark, the R68, T68, I want to say 1967, and I would be correct. 67 to 68, that's the year, also $398. So obviously the powers that be at Johnson and Browning and Demco and Sonar were probably all looking at the prices that were out there for these radios, because there was a lot of competition. I mean, if E.F. Johnson in 1959 says, we're going to triple the size of our plant, and one of the reasons is because of this new Class D citizen radio service, then not only, if you're going to put that kind of effort and time and money, you also wanted to be competitive. So I'm sure everybody was looking at the prices and saying, if we go more than $395, Tram's got us. Demco's got us. So you just walk down and pick the one you like the best, I guess. Or maybe if you were like some people, you would have them all, like we do now, right?
Well, I don't know about all, but definitely do get to play around with a couple of radios that I would have not been able to touch. In fact, the Mark III that I saw as a kid, it was a look and do not touch. If you touch, you may die.
Yes. I didn't see my first, was it a Mark II? I think it was a Mark II, until I was just about out of the radio hobby for a while, and a station, like one of the few stations there's actually in the city I was at, had purchased a Browning and invited me over, and there was just like, wow, there it is on the table. They do exist, and I could look at it, but it was, the look but don't touch. The Browning Golden Eagle Series 2 transmitter. There was a Series 1 and a Series 2 on the R68 T68. The Series 2 has the lighted on-the-air light rather than the spotlight that was on the Series 1. Some receivers have a variable RF gain. Others had a 3-position switch for RF gain. And are we showing it in the picture here? We're showing the optional speaker, the wood speaker. It was a $23.50 option, and there was also a wood case that I think you took the metal cases off and slid these into the wood case that matched the speaker, and that was around $25. So sounding good in the old tube radio neighborhood. Give us another transmission, and thank you for Radio 7, over.
Yeah, that radio there and the microphone, everything looks just like this one. In fact, this one has the 3-position switch, so just like that one. I wished I had the external speaker, but so far the only one I've seen was close to like $400, so I can't do that. I'll just have to keep an eye open and hope.
All right. Well, your collection is good the way it is, but, it's always can make room for something else. Thanks for bringing by Radio 7. The Old Tube Radio Network is what you're listening to. Perhaps you're watching us live on the YouTube video. Maybe you're watching us after the video is over and checking out your radio. This is something we do every Saturday evening here in the Central Valley of California since the mid-1980s, believe it or not. Thanks to a lot of our local stations here that have collections and will take the time to share them with us. Also now streaming on the video. Who's out there? I see Ray is Ray is watching. There was someone mentioning that there may be some buffering issues. I don't know if I got everything set up correctly when I put the video up. I initially had a problem and had to restart things, so hopefully there's not an item on this end, although it says that I have an excellent connection, whatever that means. Also, hello to our stations listening in at old@tuberadio.net. A lot of stations in Washington, British Columbia, knowing that at any moment the E-skip could open up, and not only will you be listening to the Old Tube Radio Network on the internet, but you might be participating with us, taking a transmission. We're listening for radio number 8.
Might help if I turned the other radio off.
You had the eagle screaming to the eagle?
Yeah, I had two eagles screaming at each other. They didn't like that at all.
Well, a lot of us back in the day that didn't have the money for the eagle, there was the cheap ways to get a ping. One was you would hold up the Hallicrafter's walkie-talkie next to your microphone on the Realistic Navajo, and then back it up, and then you'd only fool them for a little bit. Something I never did, and it didn't quite sound like an eagle, but it gave you that ping, that noise at the beginning. Was it the bobby pin or some type of metal device on the D104 microphone that when you flipped the push-to-talk bar, it would go twang? So you got the real deal, though.
There you go, on the minimal ping also. But yes, this is the Browning Mark III SSB.
From Browning Laboratories, the Mark III SSB. We had a shot earlier. Let's see. Well, here's the transmitter. Maybe I can get just a picture. Oh, well, no. That's I can, but that's not a very good shot. So let's try. What's the receiver? Well, there's the receiver in beautiful monochrome. No, it's actually. So how do you know it's the receiver? The receiver has the speaker, obviously. Over.
Yes, and with the on-the-air light when you key up, so it lights up, and you definitely know which one it is. Also, the transmitter is where you plug the microphone in.
And then there is a cable that interfaces both units together so that they can, in harmony, know when to turn off and turn on. Really, when you think about what's necessary to put the radios together and drive the thing, as complicated or complex, no, complicated is the right word, but as complex as just about any amateur radio of the day. And I'm going to say at least the receiver certainly could stand up to probably anything you could throw at it in the amateur world that had 11 meters in the window.
Yeah, the Mark III is definitely an excellent radio. The receiver is on par with practically any radio and modern radio that I've had, so it's a very, very nice radio.
It certainly is, and in 1972, when they came out, probably around $650. The receiver has 12 tubes in it all by itself. And I'm showing 11/11/2018. Well, this is kind of old news. Sold on eBay, Mark III RX and SSB TX for $380, $18 working and clean. A complement of 6 and 12 volt tubes in the receiver. A lot of 6 BA6s and 12 AT7s. Combined with the transmitter to make the great sound. Something like this. Back to you.
There you go. The Sound of Browning Golden Eagle. This one has a D104 attached also, and it is the limited edition 1976 gold-plated one.
Question. You've got the R68 T68, which is separate transmitter receiver, and of course the one we're listening to now, the Mark III SSB, Are the microphonium jacks, the microphonium plugs the same so that you can swap microphones between the two radios?
Yes, I can. They're both D2 prong.
Okay, very, very smart of them to do that. It makes things easy. If you get your favorite microphonium, you can just plug it right in there. All right, thank you again for Radio 7 and Radio 8 from Browning Laboratories. In almost chronological order, let's see, what did we skipped the Mark II series, but somewhere in between that, let's see, 68, 69, 70, okay, a 3-year period. The Mark II was around for a while. The R68, T68 lasted for a year, and of course, the Mark III lasted 72 to 76, and probably the only thing that made the change on that was the 40 channel coming in and retooling for the Mark IV, which was featured tonight on Old Radio Night with JT. Had a great. If you go back, I think that I provided a link. If you're looking at oldtuberadio.net, you scroll down, you'll see a link to that video, and you will see a Mark IV. So give us another transmission on the 3, and it sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, gotta definitely thank Harvey for doing all the beautiful work there and keeping these old tube radios going. With that, I'll get one more warming up before I shut them down.
All right, sounds good. We are listening. The Jingle Singers, there's a quorum there. Give us another little ditty over there in the green room tonight, enjoying the Thanksgiving leftovers. It looks like there is some pumpkin pie, so I may luck out here tonight by the time the net is over. You're listening to OTR.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
And Richard, the paperclip ping. A paperclip would be bent to touch the backside. I wish I had a D104 here to demonstrate. Do I have one? No. Okay. A paperclip would be bent to touch the backside of a D104 vertical keying bar, and the other end was mounted on a reed screw on the microphone. Okay, so it's off the head. Okay, that's right, because you've got to have a sounding board for the vibration. So okay, here's the. I know I've got part of it. I've got the. What do I have? I've got the paper clip. So if I got a good one. So if I bend the paper clip. Wait a minute. We could put it on the Heil microphone, and you would attach it. Now, it's just, and you see, that's the shock mount. You wouldn't want a shock mount. Maybe if I go directly to the. All right, sounds like a bass drum. Not quite what I was looking for. Anyway, thanks for the tutorial there, Richard, the Old Tube Radio Network listening. Hello, radio from the Old Tube Radio Network, or 25 over.
Yeah, okay, Dennis, real quickly, checking in the Citizens CB3A little phones from the manufacturer of Holocrafters, and this particular radio has the VFO on the left side, and of course the signal strength meter on the right side, which is bouncing up and down, and talking on a non-powered D104. Back to you.
Another non-amplified microphone. You know, when you first keyed up, I thought that was the sonar. The audio is really good on that tonight. Not that it isn't always, but boys, it is clear. I'm used to hearing the Holocrafters with the microphone sound a little restricted in the audio, but that doesn't sound just like you on FM. I haven't talked on FM in a long time. It has been a long time since I've given a Hawk report, so I may have to do something about that. Give us another transmission.
Oh, yes, the proverbial Hawk reports on the light standards throughout our great city of Fresno, California. But anyway, yeah, okay, Dennis, it's the Holocrafters, a little on the air light is on the lower left-hand corner, and by golly, everything seems to be working. So thanks for checking it in.
Thanks for bringing it by. I went to the close-up. Love Hallicrafters. My first radio is my first CB11A walkie-talkie, my first shortwave receiver, the SX25, and my first really good AM/FM DXing radio, the FM 1000. Before you go, there was, if you're looking at the video or you can see the picture, on either side of the channel selector, there is a rectangular black square. The radio by itself had two rectangular black squares, but each of those squares would pop out and you could put in an accessory, an optional accessory. One of them was an S-meter, which it looks like is installed on our prototype here that we're showing. And then there was also a receive VFO, I believe, that would pop in and plug in. So before you go, since we're not showing a picture of your radio, do you have either of the optional items on your CB3A little phone?
Dennis, actually, I have both options. I have the VFO receive on the left, and I have the signal strength meter on the right, which again is moving as I'm talking, and of course has the frequency selector in the middle. Most people say channel selector, but you gotta get out. If you ever go into amateur radio, you have to get out of that mode. You can't say channel, it's frequency. So it's a frequency selector in the middle. And but yeah, this particular radio has both of them. Plus, it has an extra bank of tubes on the side that have been added on, and I'm sure that's for receive, because this radio has just exceptional receive. So anyway, back to you, Dennis.
All right, good point. And you've got the deluxe model, and you sort of hit on something. Obviously, in amateur radio, you have a band from 20 meters from 1400 to 14350, and you can set and drive almost anywhere you want depending on your license class, and that's not channelized. And part of CB Class D Citizen Band was to make things less technical and a little bit easier to drive. So by channelizing, you know, clicking into A, B, C, D, or popping into frequency, there was no turning of knobs and trying to get this station with that station, and probably a lot more order. Think of it as, you know, when you're in grammar school and you have to line up in single file to go into the class. They wanted everybody to kind of be in the same line and in the same channel. So yeah, the amateurs are not channelized. Still a frequency, but Citizen Band was channelized, and it was crystal controlled on the transmitter for sure. Listening to Jerry's our Radio 9 here, and it's 10 o'clock, almost time for counting and mounting. Time sure flies when you were having fun with the old tube radios. Thanks for the CB3A, and my pen has just stopped working again. 1963, when that came out, similar to the RCA Mark 7. I wonder if it's similar because RCA built that for Hallicrafters or Hallicrafters built that for RCA. I'm not sure which. Only 7 tubes, a 12 AQ5 for the output modulator. It had a possibility of going 12-volt DC with the cable, and it appears that there is a schematic available at oldtuberadio.com. Thanks for bringing it by.
Thank you, Dennis. And by the way, I think I mentioned I'm talking on a non-powered D104. So anyway, it's a good show tonight, and thanks for everyone. Good hearing everyone. And back to you, Dennis.
37.
All right, thanks. Yeah, the audio is just really, really nice tonight, so not a problem there. The Jingle Singers are going to do the top of the hour thing, and then we will pick up our next breaking station.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
I had to look over my audio rack here. I have a piece of 30-year-old equipment that sometimes goes haywire, and I thought maybe that was happening, but I think it's okay. Checking me on the Orban loudness meter, I guess I'm there. You know, I think all the incoming stations are sounding a bit louder than I am tonight, which is okay. I'm going to, because I guess I'm jealous, I'm going to kick my audio up just a little bit as I say hello to Christopher.
Hello, Dennis. Well, I'm supposed to be loud.
You are indeed supposed to be loud, as you are on one radio designed, I can tell that you are on the radio designed by General Radio Telephone, when they started really getting into things and saying, how can we compete with Browning and how can we compete with Tram? And for a really great price point of about $200, they figured it out. And probably one of the sleeper radios is the one that you are transmitting on. Over to you.
Yeah, this one right here. I would like to check in my general radio telephone. My Super MC11A. This is a 24 band channel version of this one here. And we're registered with the handheld stock microphone. Over.
The last of the generals, I believe, that the FCC type accepted for generally Super MC11A, they did come out with an MC12, which I don't think ever got officially type accepted. I think they were sold because they're around. But this is and they actually beefed up some audio in the 12s. The Super MC11A with its 9 tubes, believe it or not. 9 tubes, the ECLL 800 on the output modulator in the 12, AX7A, and stock audio all the way with a microphonium that you wouldn't think would do that, over.
And under and sometimes overdone, but it is working. And over here, it's showing that it's doing some good modulation. You know, this thing is it keys down about 5 watts, and we're going up past that, and then, of course, the mod meter is swinging way over there. And, you know, what's nice about it, there's no additives to this puppy. This is just the way it came.
What is it that Jim used to say? Run, or was it Kevin? Run what you brung. And you could do that with the Super MC11A. 24 channels, it says right on the front, and the 24th channel, as it were, was the CAP Civil Air Patrol channel. Let's see, it did have the variable receive tuning. I can see the plus and minus under the S meter, and I'm looking in on the switches. You've got an HF tone in and out, a local range. I'm going to assume that's probably for your receiver, like a little switchable RF gain control. It's got the radio and the bullhorn. Have you ever used the bullhorn? Have you connected a speaker up somewhere and said, hello?
Yeah, no, I haven't. Maybe I should hook it up and try it on one of these years.
Yeah, and then in and out on the A&L. So compared to some of the other old tube radios you have, how is the receiver on this one?
Well, the receiver on this thing is beautiful.
All right, it looks like it's a nice front throw speaker, and the rack handle is built like a tank from General Radio Telephone. Sounding good, and we've added it to, you've made our double-digit radios for the evening, so you are Radio 10, and we'll say thanks for that and take another transmission as we are counting and amounting here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Okay, well, I would have checked in more, but I was kind of watching TV, kind of kicking back after stuffing our face with turkey again tonight. And you know, you take turkey so many days in a row and ham. After a while, you say, you know, that trash can starts looking pretty dang good.
Well, I'm going to have some leftovers in the green room, but I think I may just stick with the pumpkin pie if there is any left. So Yeah, go have a grilled cheese sandwich or something like that, but appreciate you bringing by the radio tonight.
You betcha, Dennis, no problem. Meantime, I'm going to get out here. I'd stick around, but it's time for me to jump in the rain locker. Although it is raining outside, that's a cold one. I want to get into the warm one. All right, Dennis, you have a good evening, and I thank you very much for being there. And Jerry, you're sounding good over here.
Thanks, Chris. And by golly,
Sounding good, Chris.
trash can looking good. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Caught me changing radios.
Changing radios is a good thing. Thanks, Richard. I've got up on the video, for anybody who wants to see the picture, there is, courtesy of the Big Iron guys out there on the AM phone forum, there's the easy way to do your ping. You take the screw out of the microphone element head there, and you bend the paper clip, and then you position it like a little striker, if you will, so it flips off of the push-to-talk bar. And they even say, saw this, thought it was funny. Sounds just like the old Browning rigs that had the ping when you keyed up. So ain't technology great? OTR standing by.
Oh, I guess I should check this radio in, too. Number 7.
Number 7, we can do that. It's a 711 here as we look for Radio 11. And I am thinking, which is pretty interesting for me these days, I am thinking that could be the tram.
Yes, you are correct. The tram TR27E. 23-channel transmit and receive with the Electro Voice 638 microphone.
There's the big picture. That one has, I'm thinking that that's not electronic keying, because I can definitely hear a thump when that keys up.
Yeah, it has a major, I'm not sure about what size relays are in there, but they do have a major clack. That you can hear them smacking in there when you key it up.
And talking about Class D citizen band modifications, I remember talking to a few guys, and this would be back in the early 70s, that would take on lines of the D104 and the paperclip, on the microphone element to make a noise, would remount the relays on a board, somewhere like a sounding board. So when the radio would key up, you'd get this big crash, this big snap. So maybe that was the version of the paperclip on the D104 microphone. So having that key up noise, whether it was a ping or a twang or a big snap. But yours is snapping just the way it was built.
Oh, yeah. It definitely snaps. It's your clack in there. It lets you know when you're keying up, that's for sure, which is really good because the receiver on this thing is so quiet that there's no static really coming through, so you don't know it's on until someone talks.
That's kind of nice. I have the IPO in on this, and that's sort of like, it really decreases things. And of course, if you, like I dumbly did a few weeks ago, you have your squelch set for a little bit of squelching, and your noise floor goes below that, then you hear nothing, and you think there is something wrong with the radio.
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, normally I keep the squelch on these turned all the way down, and don't worry about it.
Yeah, nothing. Let's wait a few more years until we get into cycle 25, when maybe you want to squelch 20 dB over S9 of solid noise all day and do something like that. But of course, you might not hear anybody. Radio number 11. Is that 11? Yeah, Radio 11. Mr. Ed on the Tram TR27E, the last of their TR series, I do believe, in 1963 or 64. A big old radio with the big old S meter, and everything on that radio is big, including the sound. You give us another transmission, and thanks for your extra efforts in the late part of the net here to put some radios on the board.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure. In fact, I would have been here on time, but I was playing around on 75 meters and forgot what time it was and looked over and said, oh, crap, I've got to do this. So I came over to the OTR.
Well, we're glad you did. How are the bands on 75? Obviously, at night, the band opens up. Saturday evening, there might be some of the AM phonium guys on 3870 here on the West Coast. No doubt 3880, 3885 is hopping on the East Coast, and then there's always some type of chatter somewhere to find something.
Oh, yeah. There's quite a few stations out there. I was looking at the scope, and quite active. Nice for a change. It's been pretty well crap. 40's been up and down, so 20 the same way. It'll be there for a minute, and then it fades away. Just some kind of strange conditions.
Well, they should get better, but it's nice to have the ability, because you only need a wire to listen in, and then if you've got the ticket, the ability to maybe join in or even call CQ to get brave and see if anybody can hear the station in whatever conditions they are. The Old Tube Radio Network, thanks, Ed. The Old Tube Radio Network counting and amounting and taking any last check-ins here for radios before we leave for the evening.
47.
And there are more. Hello, 47, over.
Well, I started this evening out with a Robin, and how about ending with a Robin, or at least ending my portion here with a Robin?
Okay, birds of a feather, something like that. We'll take the Robin. This one is a mellow. This one sounds mellow. The 123 was it was screaming tonight. It was singing for a mate. I think that's what they do. Let me find the Robin item, and the process of elimination would tell me that you are on the Bravo model. Over.
Yeah, it's the 123B Bravo. The weaker audio may be due to one of two options. Number one, I'm getting tired. Number two, this one does not have an amplified mic. I'm speaking on I think it was a stock microphone that came with this radio. It says Robin on the front. Yeah, it just says T123B Japan on the back of it. So I don't know who manufactured this one, but there's the two options as to why the audio might be a little bit smaller than the other radio.
Well, I wouldn't call it small. It has a more mellow sound frequency-wise as well. Now, unlike the prior Robin, where you amplified the microphonium to achieve a bit more in the modulation percentage department, this particular Panasonic chassis is graced not with what are some of the things? A CBPA switch or an SRF meter switch. This one actually has the infamous range expand, so you sort of have your audio amplifier built into the radio.
Yeah, that's correct. And of course, you made me kind of lean forward there and make sure that the range expand is on, which it is. I can't really say much for my modulation lamp because it's not really doing much of anything. It does illuminate, which makes me feel kind of okay, but it's got the same power as, oh gosh, as what you know, it kind of reminds me of the Bionic Man. For those of you that had, might be dating myself, you guys were several of the listeners, I'm sure, were too old to be playing with Steve Austin dolls. But $6 Million Man doll, you could buy a 3-pack of extra arms. One of those arms, you kind of bent the guy's wrist back, and it had a nice, I think it was a red or amber light that would light up. It was great, man. It had a AA battery in the arm. and whatever, I guess, I don't know what they call that particular thing, but this modulation lamp on this radio does kind of remind me of that old toy that I just love playing with. I will tell you, this radio, I made a comment about it, kind of nice and warm in here because of these radios, and I'm only halfway kidding about that. This radio, I ran off and got my my Weber barbecue meat thermometer and kind of placed it on top of the radio. Top of this radio above the speaker is actually 129 degrees, which I think we've kind of compared that to the temperature of an easy bake oven. So after I sign off here, I think I'm going to go try and get some of our really, really old, unused easy bake oven mixes and see if I can make a pancake or a birthday cake on top of this thing.
There you go. Put another candle on your birthday cake. They have those little quarter-size pans with the quarter-size Betty Crocker mix. And just not spill anything in the top there, and you'll be able to do that probably at 129 degrees. Might take a little while. And I put the close-up up, and I noticed I misspoke because you actually do have a PA on that. Above the mic, there is either a button, say external speaker. There's something on there that leads me to believe that you can do PA, and of course there's a PA little light that comes on. So that was the deluxe, that Panasonic chassis. Robin must have paid them extra to get all the deluxe features. 11 tubes produces the fine sound that you hear from Mike's radio, the Robin T123B. 12AX7 in the modulator mic preamp probably is helping things out a bit, and I see at oldtuberadio.com there's an operator's manual and a schematic. So over to you. I know you want to get baking there before the day is out, so we'll go back to you for a transmission, and thank you for what is our Radio 12 tonight from Robin.
Oh, good. Yeah, actually, I think I'm going to skip over that Easy Bake recipe, although I do have a strange urge to go on eBay and check on those that extra 3-pack of special arms for your $6 Million Man doll. I will say that you're right on this thing. It does have an external speaker button that you can press. And right below that, it's got the PA, neither of which features I've ever used. But one of these days, or I think Chris said one of these years, he's going to get around to doing something. So maybe I'll say that. Not one of these days, but one of these years. Anyways, thanks for letting me check it in. Everyone sounds great. And on that, we'll see you in December.
See you in December. That was see you in September, but that is correct. It is 30th. My next date on the check-ins is 12/7, 12/14, 12/21, 12/28. So it looks like we'll dance around the Christmas holidays as we did with the Thanksgiving holidays. Hope everyone was able to do what they wanted to do. Didn't get stuck in traffic or in inclement weather, or if you did, it was semi-enjoyable or just one of those things of the season. Going to head over to Studio B when I'm done here and partake in whatever leftovers are left over, if indeed there are any. So as I'm counting and mounting, I want to say we're listening for any and all check-ins before we sign out here, or comments. Who's still hanging out with us in the wee hours of a Saturday evening here on the West Coast and an early Sunday morning? Hello to our British Columbia trio. Washington is in. Copperopolis, California. Wisconsin. Sheriff of Nottingham is still in. Florida. Hello, Riverview, Florida. The Florida station would beacon into the mix here. Thanks. There, 31 is still listening. Virginia, San Francisco, Somerville, South Carolina, New York. A lot of people staying up late with us. And low to Warren, the hand. I don't know how to do the memes, the icon. There's my waving hand. OTR standing by. And I didn't hear a peep from any E-skip. It's just amazing how, if you go back when the archives a month and a half ago, when 709 and the Washington guys just all of a sudden pop in with 9, 10 over signals, it's those conditions that we can hope for. Maybe there'll be something going on tomorrow. And the jingle singer said,
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
and then Mr. Announcer said,
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
the current and final OTR totals of the evening for this net November 30th, 2019. Here we go. 46 total SWLs. A lot of people still somewhere celebrating or doing whatever they do for Thanksgiving. Hello to Santa Clara listening in. And what was the score? I think it was going the wrong way on the Bulldog score at San Jose, and I'm thinking that should be over by now. We had 9 check-ins on page 1, 10 on page 2, 14 on page 3, and 13 on page 4 for a total of 46, according to my math, and 12 radios tonight. Not too bad. Most heard manufacturer. A tie between the Brownings at 3 and the General Radio Telephones at 3. And we started off the evening with a Robin that, had we got one more, would have been in the 3-way tie, the T123. Mike putting on the bookends tonight with Robin at the top and a Robin at the tail, the T123, the earlier version with the Magic Eye. Radio number 2, the General Radio Telephone MC5 number 1. That was from Jerry's collection. Then from Paul's collection, the General Radio Telephone MC5 number 2. And good demo on the tone signals. And they both sound good. Jerry, yours sounds, the peak and tweak sounds better, and Paul, yours always sounds good. A perfect example of an MC5. The E.F. Johnson Messenger 223 from Ed, and a great article posted by Mitch, and we found out that 1959 or 1960, thanks to Class D Citizen Band Radio and the Johnson Viking Messenger, a lot of people in Waseca, Minnesota had a place to go to work. Sound like a great company and some great people to work for there. Radio number 5, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB from Jerry. Paul brought us Radio 6 with a Demco satellite, a repeat of the Demco satellite base. Most of it was there. The audio wasn't bad. The archives are up at oldtuberadio.net. You click on the archive button. It will take a while to load all those little reel-to-reel tapes on the OTR magnetophone and look for the date, such as November 30th, 2019, and whether it's an SWL or tube radio check-in that you'd like to listen to and put it on the MP3 or player of your choice. And we keep the videos up for a while that you can watch it that way. The Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, the first Eagle, the Browning Eagle Mark None, as someone called it, Radio 7 from Mr. Ed, who also brought us by Radio 8, the Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. The Howler Crafter CB38, Jerry, I will again say that radio sounded excellent tonight. I'm going to go back and listen to that. You fooled me. I thought it was the sonar. Radio number 9, Radio 10, the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A that always wows everyone. And I like putting the S meter up when you see the signals at S9, which is not bad, but it certainly isn't the 20 or the 30 over, which is the way it sounds to your ear. Great audio on that. Radio number 11, the Tram TR27E with thump. And the Robin T123B. Nice and mellow sounding for Radio 12. Thanks, everybody. The Old Tube Radio Network is something we've been doing here for 35 years just because we can, and we wanted to get a chance to make CB sound the way that it did when these radios were brand new, back during the 5-minute rule and when people were civilized. Not that they aren't today, but we're just having fun on a Saturday evening chatting on what then, in the 1960s and 70s, was the equivalent of the social media today, Facebook and chatting on the cell phone. This is what you did to talk to your friends, and it worked out pretty good. And you never got, once you made the initial payment, you never got a bill at the end of the month, and at the end of the next month, like you do with all this newfangled stuff. 73, everybody. Thanks to SearchLawrence.com and Fodex for the Nixie tubes. And assuming that everything works and we're all around, we will try this again next week. Hopefully you do something like this where you're at in your local area. If not, give it a try. It's fun. And as we always encourage people, expand your horizons by, you want to do it. Study for that exam, and when the amateur radio test comes up near you, go for getting the ticket. And a lot of us are also ham radio operators that run these radios, and we'd like to talk to you somewhere on some band, on some frequency. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Dennis. Thanks a lot. And Fresno State is still leading, at least by 6 points. Doggone it, have a fine one.
Good night, Dennis, and Bozo Control, of course.
Thank you. Yeah, that Fresno State game must be right near the end.
Yeah, it's about closing out, and they're both 4-7. The record is 4-7 on both of them, so it's a good game. But doggone it, it's a damn shame. They need to win this one, though, to at least not get as bad a chewing out as they've gotten the last couple of weeks.
I'm sure the coach definitely wants to win this one.
You got that right, 73s.
Yeah, you want to be around the coach when they lose.
I'm sure, and that's the same as NFL. In fact, I'm really digging deep here to find out how it's going for Dallas. Yeah, because Jerry Jones, I think, is on his way out.
We used to do video production when Jim Sweeney was the coach, and since he was a popular guy, there was a couple of places in town that used him for spokesperson, and inevitably we would end up having to go and tape him for some endorsement that he would be doing. And let me tell you, if you came in the morning, like Monday morning, after a bad loss that weekend, you just didn't want to be around the guy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, you know what? I think the same is going for this coach. Yeah, doggone it. But I think next year will be prosperous. It will be. The young ones are coming along. The seniors are all going, but the young ones are coming on. It looks like a pretty good team, so we'll see.
Yeah, what do they call it? A building year or something like that. All right, I'm going to drop the video stream and the audio stream. Thanks for everybody, all of the participants on our SWLs. It makes me look smart. I'm sitting here, but basically what I'm doing is taking everybody's suggestions about do this and look over here for this interesting fact and read this. And so thanks for making me look good on the net tonight. Good night from the Old Tube Radio Network.
Hey, Ed, how are you doing?
Still doing, I guess that's a good thing. Yeah, I had the grandkids over, and got stuffed and worn out.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what I'm going to do...
Well,
What I'm going to do is, since Ed said something about 75 meters, I'm going to quickly go down, and we're going to be on the Starduster antenna. See if there's any AM activity here tonight. Look at that. All right. less noisy. Signal to noise isn't very good. That's 3870. Little noise reduction.
So that brings you up to speed.
There's an echo on the signal. Got to get the wire antenna up. But there is some activity on 3870 tonight on the West Coast. On 75 meters. And the usual wackiness on 3840. The usual 3840 stuff. And I doubt we're going to hear a thing on 40 meters. Because my antenna is less than stellar. There's some DXers on 7170. Probably some broadcast stuff. So, slim pickings on the Starduster here tonight. Good night, everybody. The Old Tube Radio Network.